Okay, so now, so having said that as long as you have any suffix that you might have been Yotze the night before, you're allowed to continue and count with the bracha in the subsequent night. So the Rav Moshe Feinstein in the Tshuvos addresses the following shayla. This is in the Igros Motion in the fourth chelik of Orach Chaim Siman Tzadi Tes. He was asked the shayla by Rabbi Ephraim Greenblatt, the author of Rivas Ephraim. He was asked, what is the din if a person, during the days of Sefira, on a Friday afternoon, the person was Makabel Shabbos early, it's before the Zman, it's before Shkia, and after being Makabel Shabbos, he then realizes, or he then remembers that he didn't count the night before. The night before, let's say, was, whatever it is, let's say the night before was 21, and he realizes that he never counted 21, and okay, I see your message. Do you make a bracha during the day? No, the answer is no. When you count that day that you missed the night, you count during the day. You don't make a bracha because you might. That's a real suffix. You might not be able to. But on the subsequent nights, you make a bracha. Thank you for allowing me to clarify that. Okay, so now this person already is Makabel Shabbos on a Friday evening, and then he realizes that he didn't count Sefiras Haomer yet. And the night before, that is. He didn't count Thursday night, and he didn't count the entire Friday. And now it is Friday, late Friday. It's still before Shkia, though. It's before sunset. So if it would be a regular day, or if it would be Friday and he had not been Makabel Shabbos, then he certainly would be able to count now and then continue the following night with the bracha. That's Pasha, like we just said. But now he is Makabel Shabbos already. So the question is, maybe it's a stira. Maybe you can't have it both ways. You can't say it's Shabbos and you're technically about to sit down and make Kiddush, and at the same time, or maybe you even daven Mariv, and at the same time you're going to count the Sefira of Thursday night or Friday. Maybe that's the Sefira. Or perhaps is it not? So Rav Moshe paskins as follows. He says, first of all, if he did not daven Mariv yet, all he did, he's Makabel Shabbos by saying Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos, but he didn't daven Mariv yet. Then Rav Moshe says for sure he could count that day, count the Friday, count the Thursday night / Friday, count without a bracha, and then continue later that night, Friday night, which is Shabbos, continue with the bracha, and all the rest of the nights with the bracha. That's for sure. And even if he daven Mariv already, Rav Moshe comes out l'maskana that he could still count. He davened Mariv, but it's still Friday, meaning on the based on the sun, it's still Friday. It's not Shkia yet, so he can still count the Friday and then continue with the bracha later that night, the count of Shabbos. And Rav Moshe explains the first part of it. The fact if he didn't daven Mariv yet, then he said it's based on a famous Taz. There's a Taz in Siman Tuf Reish in Hilchos Tkiyah Shofar that talks about a situation where a community did not have a shofar on particular Rosh Hashanah, and they sent a guy chutz l'tchum. I believe that was the case. The guy went chutz l'tchum to get a shofar, whatever it was. But the point was they sent someone out to get a shofar, and he has not yet come back. And it's already the second day Rosh Hashanah, and it's towards the evening. And the second day Rosh Hashanah was a Friday. That particular year Rosh Hashanah was Thursday, Friday, and now it's towards the evening of Friday. They haven't blown shofar yet, but the shofar hasn't shown up. So they gave up. They resigned themselves to what they thought was the inevitable, and they were Makabel Shabbos, and the tzibur they daven Mariv. They were Makabel Shabbos, even though it still wasn't nightfall yet. And then, lo and behold, after the Makabel Shabbos, the shofar appears. The person who went to send to fetch a shofar comes back with the shofar, but now they've already been Makabel Shabbos. And the question is there any value to blowing shofar still? And is it mutter? Is it mutter to blow shofar? You don't normally blow shofar in Shabbos. Besides which, if it's really Shabbos, then it's not Rosh Hashanah anymore. So the Taz paskin that it's considered a Kabbalah B'tos. Kabbalah B'tos, it was a mistaken Kabbalah Shabbos, and they should still blow shofar. And the Mishnah Berurah there, if you look in Tuf Reish, I recall the Mishnah Berurah paskins blow shofar without a bracha. Don't make the bracha on the shofar because of a suffix, a shayl, but still blow shofar. If it's before nightfall, you can still blow shofar even though the Kabbalah Shabbos already. And it's based on Kabbalah Shabbos B'tos. So that's if the person didn't daven Mariv yet. Rav Moshe says, yeah, we'll compare it to that. We'll say it's a Kabbalah Shabbos B'tos. But if he davened Marav already, and to say that his Kabbalah Shabbos was a toast, but if he davened Marav already, he's going to have to daven over again. And it's going to turn out that all the brachas he said in Marav, the brachas of Shemona Esrei, at L'chol HaPachos, at the very least, are all brachas L'vatala. So you can't call that a toast. You can't say that it was a toast, that he wasn't Makabel Shabbos and he wants to erase the whole Kabbalah Shabbos, because then it would end up making at least 7 brachas L'vatala. For what? For a mitzvah d'Rabbanan of Sefiras Haomer, not even a Vadai mitzvah. It's only a suffix if you get the mitzvah, because it could be during the day you're not even making the mitzvah. So Rav Moshe says that wouldn't be enough to have him count. However, the Taz has a second svara. Without going into the details now, Taz has a second svara, and Rav Moshe says based on the Taz's second svara, he could still count. So that's Rav Moshe's maskana. Okay, I don't know. Well, I see your message. Do you hear me? I get the question. Do you hear me sufficiently? Yeah. Okay. I apologize. I'm not so good with the technology here, so I don't know any way to improve upon it. I truly hope that it's coming out clear enough to all the participants. In any case, Rav Moshe passes that he should count Sefiras Haomer without a bracha Friday afternoon, having already been Makabel Shabbos, and then he can continue the following night with a bracha. That means that very night after dark with a bracha. Okay, now I just want to share with you that I once had the opportunity to ask Rabbi Yashiv a somewhat similar shaila, and that is the shaila was about a person. I might have mentioned this once in Miami. I think about a shir that I gave when visiting once. The situation was that a person did not put on tefillin on a Friday morning, whatever the reason was. He wasn't feeling well or whatever it may be. So he did not put on tefillin Friday morning, and when it came later, later in the day he was able to put on tefillin, but he forgot, and he started Shabbos early. He took in Shabbos before Shkia, and then only then did he realize and remember that he had not put on tefillin yet that whole day. And the question was, should he put on tefillin? Having already been Makabel Shabbos, we don't put on tefillin on Shabbos. But do we say perhaps the same sort of the Taz? Do we say it's the Kabbalah Shabbos the toes? Or how should we approach this? Should he still put on tefillin or not? So I posed that shaila. I'd heard the shaila at some point, and I had an opportunity once to speak with Rabbi Yashiv, and I posed the shaila to Rabbi Yashiv, and Rabbi Yashiv's tshuva was the following. He said, if he didn't daven Marav yet, then he could be matir neder, in essence, meaning he can undo his Kabbalah Shabbos. He can reverse his Kabbalah Shabbos, not just to say it's a toast and it's like automatically, nullified, but he could actually undo it by going in front of 3 people and saying I was Makabel Shabbos, and then I realized I didn't put on tefillin today. How I realized it would not have been Makabel Shabbos, and they'll say basically mutalach, 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 and then it's Ois Shabbos, and he could put on tefillin. And this is based on a lavush. The lavush says this in Hilchos Shabbos, that one who needs to can reverse his Kabbalah Shabbos by being matir neder, because Kabbalah Shabbos early works through the same mechanics as making a neder. It's a Kabbalah upon himself, a personal, private Kabbalah, and he could overturn that Kabbalah. He could overturn that Kabbalah with his Hatara. So Yashiv said, if he didn't daven Marav yet, then that's what he should do. Be matir neder, or be matir the Kabbalah Shabbos, and then put on tefillin. I believe with a bracha. Yep, with a bracha, sure. And then the Kabbalah Shabbos again afterwards. But if he already davened Marav, then he said he can't do that. Because once he davened Marav, again, if he's going to undo his Kabbalah Shabbos, he's going to make all the brachas of Atala, that he is not able to do. So then he has no Eitzah. In that case, he just simply does not put on tefillin that day. That's what Rabbi Yashiv said. Okay, so Rabbi Yashiv doesn't discuss that Nakuda, that option of being matir neder. He doesn't discuss, he doesn't require it. He just says that if he didn't daven Marav, let him, then for sure he can count. And Lamaisa, even if he did daven Marav based on the second part of the Taz, where, as even Rabbi Yashiv said, Hataras Nadarim at that point would not be would not be right, would not be proper, or would not be feasible. Nonetheless, Rav Moshe says when it comes to Sefiras Haomer, he can still count. Now, that doesn't mean Rav Moshe would agree that would say he could put on tefillin, but Rav Moshe says he can still count Sefiras Haomer and continue the following night. I once asked the following shaila. I once had thought of the following shaila, and I eventually asked it to Rav David Feinstein. The shaila was, let's say, a situation where Shavuos is a Wednesday and Thursday, which is possible, right? As long as Pesach starts on a Tuesday, and Shavuos can start on a Wednesday, and Pesach can start on a Tuesday. Pesach just can't start lo badu Pesach. It can't start on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, but it can start on a Tuesday. So Pesach starts on Tuesday, then Shavuos starts on Wednesday. So when Shavuos on Chutz La'aretz is Wednesday and Thursday, and then you're supposed to make Havdalah Thursday night. If you forgot to make Havdalah on the night after Yom Tov, so Mishnah Berurah brings Rabbi Eger, that you have the next day to do it. Meaning, even if let's say Yom Tov ended on Yom Tov ended on a Monday night. Yom Tov was or Yom Tov was a Shabbos Sunday. Okay, let's say that happens pretty often, right? Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, whatever could come out Pesach come out Shabbos Sunday, and you're supposed to make Havdalah Sunday night after the first days of Yom Tov, and you forgot. So you have one day to do it. Vegas says you don't have 3 days. It's not like Motzai Shabbos that you have 3 days. You have one day to make Havdalah. The Havdalah of Motzai Yom Tov, which you should have made, for example, Sunday night, you could do it all of Monday, but that's it. After Monday, you can't do it. So in this case, the person, it's a Thursday night. Yom Tov is over Thursday night. The person has, if he forgets to make Havdalah, he could do it on Friday. What happens if he forgot to make Havdalah most of Friday? And again, he was Makabel Shabbos. He was Makabel Shabbos, and it's before Shkia. He's Makabel Shabbos early, and then he realizes that he didn't yet make Havdalah. Could he still make Havdalah for Motzai Yom Tov, even though he was already Makabel Shabbos? So I asked the shaila to Rav Feinstein, and when asking the shaila, I'm fairly certain I mentioned his father's tshuva about Sefiras Haomer, that his father allows counting Sefiras Haomer after Kabbalah Shabbos and giving it validity that the person who did that could continue counting with a bracha subsequently. But Rav David said, Eino Domet, the two things are not similar, and it was pasha to him, was pasha to Rav David, that he cannot make Havdalah. Once he was Makabel Shabbos Friday afternoon, he no longer can make Havdalah, the Havdalah that he neglected to make Thursday night, Motzai Yom Tov, he could no longer do. So, right. So, there's pasha to Rav David that he can no longer make Havdalah for Motzai Yom Tov once he was Makabel Shabbos. Okay, now moving on to a second but related point. So we said that if you forgot to count during the day, if you forgot to count at night, you have the entire next day to count. And if you were noticing, I was careful every time I spoke about the entire next day. I said, you can count till Shkia. The question is, what about after Shkia? No, I'm not talking about on a Friday. Let's say a person forgot to count on a Tuesday night, and he didn't remember Wednesday either until it was Nach Shkia, after Shkia on Wednesday, Bein Hashmashos, from Wednesday going into Wednesday night, which is Thursday. So could he still count? Could he still count the Sefira of Tuesday night, Wednesday? It's already almost Wednesday's almost over. You might. Wednesday is almost over. Wednesday is almost over. So it's already Bein Hashmashos. Wednesday might be over. It might be over. I'm not talking about I'm talking about this in this mushal, where the person forgot to count Tuesday night, and now it's Wednesday after Shkia. Wednesday Bein Hashmashos. So it may be already considered Wednesday night, which is Thursday. In which case, of course, he can't count the Sefira from Wednesday. But we know Bein Hashmashos is Safek Yom, Safek Laila. So that's the question. Can the person count the Sefira of Wednesday when it's already Bein Hashmashos on the way into Thursday. So this is a big machlokas achronim. There are a number of dayas in the achronim. If you want to look, see inside, if you take the Shulchan Aruch or the Mishnah Berurah in the not in the Mishnah Berurah itself, but in the Sharei Tshuva on the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Kaf Pei Tes, the Sharei Tshuva there brings down from the base David that no, you can't count anymore. Once it's already been a shmashas, so the whole reason you can count, if you forgot Tuesday night, the whole reason you can count during Wednesday is that Wednesday is still a suffix. You might be Yotzei the count, the Tuesday night counting, which is, the counting from Revi B'Shabbos. You might even be Yotzei during the day. So as long as you have that suffix, that's good enough to keep your counting alive. And you could continue with the bracha then the subsequent night. But now it's already been a shmashas. It might not even be Wednesday anymore. You might not even have the tzad to say that you're yotzi during the day. This might not be called during the day anymore. It might be called already the next night. So he says it's not a sake of Gomor, and you can't count. However, he does bring down that the Birkei Yosef from the Chidah, it was gimgame bazek tzas, meaning he was not entirely convinced of this chumrah, of this din that you can't count. And I will share with you that a number of other child and shuvas paskin fakeret that you could count. As long as you counted bein hashmashas of Wednesday, it still counts. It's still considered that it's a good enough tzad that you were yotzei Wednesday's Sefira, and you could count again. You could continue later Wednesday night with the Thursday Sefira with the bracha. Who says that? The Shalos and Shuvas Beis Shlomo in the first Chelek Siman Kuf Beis, and the Shalos and Shuvas Shalom Meishiv Madura Daled Chelek Gimel Siman Kuf Chav Zayin, and the Shalos and Shuvas Minchas Yitzchak Chelek Tes Siman and Zayin. They all paskin that you could count, and so do many other later poskim, contemporary poskim. Paskin this way. I'll try to give B'Mitzayim some examples in the Sefer Emes Liakov from on the Shulchan Aruch from Hagoyin Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zichron Livracha on this siman. Now it's not in the part that he actually wrote. It's in the Ha'aris Mipi Shmua, which is a substantial part of the Sefer, put out by Rabbi Neustadt. Besides being a reliable Rav, was his grandson-in-law, but the things he quotes there, I think, are primarily, or to a large extent, from other Rabbanim. He has a list in the beginning of the various Rabbanim who he heard Piskei Halacha from, B'Shem Rabbi Yaakov. So over there in Ha'ara 460, he brings from Rabbi Yaakov that he could still continue to count if he counted Ben Hashmashos. But I should add now, in this, Rabbi Yaakov qualifies it, or at least the Emes Liakov, Sefer Emes Liakov qualifies it, and that it's only the Bein Hashmashos of what he calls of the Shulchan Aruch Harav, which is the same as the Grub, meaning to say we know there's a very big shaila in the poskim. What is Bein Hashmashos? Till when is it Bein Hashmashos? And we have very briefly the sheet of the Gaonim that Bein Hashmashos, the way they put it, is only for 13 and a half minutes after sunset, after Shkia. And then it's already Vadei Laila. And then we have the sheet of Rabbeinu Tam, that Ben Hashmashos is for 58 and a half minutes after Shkia. And only then, I'm sorry. We have the sheet of Rabbeinu Tam that for 58 and a half minutes after Shkia, it's not even Ben Hashmashos. For the first 58 and a half minutes after Shkia, it's Vadei Yom. And it only becomes Ben Hashmashos It only becomes Bein Hashmashos after 58 and a half minutes. And then for the next 13 and a half minutes, from 58 and a half minutes after Shkia till 72 minutes after Shkia, that is Bein Hashmashos. So says Rabbi Yaakov that you can't rely on the Bein Hashmashos of Rabbeinu Tam for this. And I believe the Minchas Yitzchak says the same thing in that Shuvah, that it has to be within the Bein Hashmashos of the Gaonim, which is what which is how the Gra Paskins and the Shulchan Aruch Paskins has to be within the earlier Bein Hashmashos. Now, Lav Davka is 13 and a half minutes, though. Although, yes, they say 13 and a half minutes, but many poskim say that that's not true for every location in the world and for every tekufa for every season in the year. that 13 and a half minutes might only be said only in Bavel and only during the middle of the year. But there are times there are places in the world where it's longer. So many poskim say, for example, that let's say in New York, Ben Hashmashos, the Gaonim would be longer than 13 and a half minutes. And that's the way the Gedolei Rabbanim Paskim in Chicago, that even the Ben Hashmashos of the Gaonim is longer than 13 and a half minutes. Certainly 20 minutes and maybe even up to 30 minutes. You could consider, Al Kapanim, you could consider Ben Hashmashos, whether it's purely Lefi the Gaonim or whether they're being Samech on a third Shita, but Al Kapanim, it's more than 13 and a half, and that is certainly 20 minutes after Shkia in New York or in Chicago, many would say you could count, but not much later. So, for example, if it's, let's say it's 45 minutes after Shkia, even in New York, 45 minutes after Shkia, then already is very questionable if you can call that Ben Hashmashos, although maybe according to Rabbeinu Tam, you still could. Even that's a question, because even Rabbeinu Tam's Shir, which I said begins at 58 and a half minutes, is also may also be dependent upon location in the world. But Al Kapanim, that late already, you could not call it Ben Hashmashos, and you cannot count. Now, what about in a place like Miami, where it's quicker? Ben Hashmashos is definitely shorter than it is in New York or Chicago. Some say, I heard recently from Irish Cole in Toronto, who's here, who said in the name of Shlomo Zalman that Miami is similar to Yerushalayim. So it would be shorter. Now, Rabbi Bleser actually told me a couple of years ago when I did say this over in a shir in the Kollel on Shavuos, and I was visiting here on Shavuos then, and I spoke about this. So Rabbi Bleser told me afterwards, I hope I'm quoting him correctly, that he asked the Shaila to Rav Shmuel Arbach, son of Shlomo Zalman's son, Rav Shmuel Arbach, and he asked about 20 minutes after Shkia in Yerushalayim, and he told him that he could still count. He told him that 20 minutes after Shkia in Yerushalayim, he could still count. Okay, so we have a number of Gedolim. Now I mentioned, I told you that a number of contemporary Gedolim passed in this way. So we mentioned Rabbi Yaakov, and now we're mentioning Rav Shmuel Arbach. We'll get to Shlomo Zalman Arbach in a moment. But I have also in my notes from the Sefer Ashrei Ho'ish, which is a compilation of psukim from Rabbi Yashav, things which Rabbi Yashav actually quotes from Rabbi Yashav in various sarim, and he brings there that Rabbi Yashav also paskined that at least up to 13 minutes after Shkia, I suppose he's talking Yerushalayim, one could still count and then continue with the bracha. So basically he's agreeing that you could count Ben Hashmashos and then continue with the bracha. Whether 13 minutes very likely might just be for Yerushalayim. Maybe he would agree that in New York and Chicago, it would be later. Al Kapanim, the number there is 13 minutes. Now, what does Rav Shlomo Zalman hold? So I don't know for sure, but I found two sources in the name of Rav Shlomo Zalman, and they record opposite psukim in his name. One source is the Sefer Halichos Shlomo. The Sefer Halichos Shlomo, which is a well-known Sefer, brings, I'm just looking for it where I have it in my notes here. Sorry, just bear with me for a moment, please. The Sefer Halichos Shlomo on the Moedim, in the Chelik on Pesach, Perik Yud Aleph Siv Vav brings in the name of Rav Shlomo Zalman, based on Rishimos, based on notes, that one could continue, like we've been saying till now, from many Achronim and from many contemporary posts from Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yashiv and Shmuel Arbach. So according to Halicha Shlomo Zalman Arbach, also said like that you could continue with the bracha if you count Ben Hashmashos. However, in the Sefer Ma'adonei Shlomo was written by Rabbi Ephraim Friedman, shlicht who's a Rosh Kollel in Dallas, Texas. And he was closer with Rosh Zalman for a number of years when he was in Eretz Yisrael. So he brings there, it's in page Yud-Tes. I'm not sure if that's the original version of the Sefer or the Madura Tinyana, I'm not sure. But I think it's from the Madura Kama that I quoted, I'm not sure. But in any case, he brings there that Rosh Zalman told him that if a person forgot and he didn't remember till Ben Hashmashas, he cannot continue with the bracha. Even if he counts then, even if he counts Ben Hashmashas, it's not good enough. He cannot count afterwards with the bracha. It's too late. It's too late. It's too far out. Too slight of a suffix. And that's the way it's also recorded in the Mavakshe Torah. The Kuntrus called Mavakshe Torah in the 19th Kuntrus. Also, as I see from my notes, they're also quoting Rabbi Fried. Okay, so it's the same source, basically. But so we have a machlokas makaros, what Rosh Zalman held. But in any case, many hold that way. That a person still could continue to count, and that's the fact that I was told from a number of Rabbanim, that I spoke to or heard from, that one could continue as long as they count Ben Hashmashas. But again, Ben Hashmashas would have to be at in like let's call it an early version of Ben Hashmashas. So how long is it here in Miami? So Rosh Shmuel Auerbach said 20 minutes in Shalayim, so perhaps you could do it. I certainly personally would not be comfortable in anything beyond 20 minutes in Miami, and I don't know, even 20 minutes I would say is a shtuckle suffix, suffix, whether we could, whether you have enough of a suffix. I think 20 minutes might be, still might be pushing it a little bit. I think perhaps 15 minutes is a more reasonable time. So I see the question here, how long is Ben Hashmashas in Miami? So, well, that's the Nidon, that's the Shaila. I mentioned recently the Rosh Kollel from Toronto told us that, I forget his name, I think his name was Roy Hirschquist, but I apologize, I forget his name. He was here for a few weeks. In any case, he said that Rosh Zalman told him that it's similar to Yerushalayim. So what is Yerushalayim? So really make her din by 35 minutes. It's really considered safe. Okay, we're not so meko, perhaps, in Yerushalayim, but some are making it 35 minutes. And if 35 minutes already safe, I don't know. I don't know the exact amount of time. I just think that it's a little risky to to push it too far is a little bit risky. And we're dealing with something that's already a machlokas achronim. Some hold even if it's vaday ben hashmashos, it's too late to salvage a sfira. So the question being asked, can you be mistar for ben tam? So the Svarim seem to say no, you should not be mistar for ben tam. Maybe a chassid or somebody who paskins like ben tam bein lekula bein lechurma lechol davar. Sure, but most of us don't do that. We're certainly not making Rabbeinu Tam to do malacha after Shkia on Friday night, and I don't. The halacha l'maisa, we would not be mitzvah for Rabbeinu Tam. We would not be mitzvah for Rabbeinu Tam here. Okay, now, second, please. Okay, so let's discuss one more point here, and. That is, what is the halacha if somebody crosses the date line during the days of Sefira? Now, without going into now what is the date line in halacha, we know that the international date line is not what's koveya in Yonei halacha. Big machlok is koveya. We'll save that. Hopefully, I'll be able to speak about that on another occasion. There's of course, a fascinating topic. Fascinating, first of all, discussing what is the date line, and then discussing the many, many ramifications of crossing the date line. But here, let's just discuss what's Nagea L'inyanein of Sefiras Haomer. If a person travels, let's say, from the United States to Australia during the May Sefira, and let's say he leaves on day 20 of the Omer, and he let's say, during the daytime, and he arrives in Australia and it's already day 21. He never experienced the night. It was light the whole trip. And now, but when he gets there, it's no longer day 20, it's day 21. It's no longer Wednesday, it's Thursday. And the question is is there a way to salvage his sphere? Meaning, okay, he definitely missed the night of 21, but we said that as long as you count during the day, so then that's good enough that you count during the day without a bracha, then you could continue the following night with a bracha. So the shaila is, could he do the same thing here? Should we simply say, okay, it's day 21 during the day, so go ahead, count the sphera, count right now, day 21, count 21 days without a bracha, and then continue the following night, 22 with a bracha, because you missed the night, but you hopped around the day, so it's good enough. Shall we say like that? So there are those that say that way. There are those that say that way. For example, who says that way? Well, according to the Sefer Ta'arech Yisrael, which is Rabbi Yisrael Taplin, Shlita from Lakewood, an entire Sefer on the dinim of the dateline, the halachi dateline, according to what he brings in, I believe it's Simon Bays, he brings from Rav Chaim Pinchas Steinberg, son of Racha, who said yes, he said like that, just continue counting, count that day without a bracha, count 21 without a bracha, and he can continue at night with a bracha. That's where Shaimer Paskin also in the Sefer Yisrael Hazmanim, who I believe that's Rabbi Harpenis Paskin that as well. And a third possible source, well, or I'll call it a third source. A third source is the Sefer Madani Shlomo, once again quoting the Sefer from Rabbi Fried, his psuk, where he says over many psukim over Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, in that Sefer Madani Shlomo, page 20, Chaf Aleph, at least in the, as I said, I think in the first Madura, he says that's how Shlomo Zalman told. That's what Shlomo Zalman told him. That when he gets to Australia, he should count without a bracha, and then he can continue that night with a bracha. Okay. However, there are others that say not like that. Who says not like that? So, for example, here again, the Halicha Shlomo. Here's a second example where there's a difference between the Halicha Shlomo and the Ma'adane Shlomo as to what was the Shita of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. The Halicha Shlomo in Perek Yud Aleph Sifches brings that Shlomo Zalman held that if a person travels, like I said, in this case from America to Australia, and he misses the entire night, that means not just he missed counting the night, he missed the night. He did not experience a nightfall and then a daybreak. He skipped a night. He skipped a night. He went from day to day. So Shlomo Zalman says he can no longer count with the bracha, even if during that day when he gets to before Shkia he counts 21. It's not going to help, because he never went through the night of 21. He missed that day. In other words, the way I wrote it down here is, well, yitachein, it's not shayach to have two dates within 1 day of Ma'aseh Bereishis. For him, it was just 1 day of Ma'aseh Bereishis. It was just 1 day of Ma'aseh Bereishis because he never went through a night. So it's not shayach. Not shayach to, in 1 day of Ma'aseh Bereishis, to have two dates and two spheres. So Shlomo Zalman, as the way it's recorded in the Halicha Shlomo, says he cannot count. And further, once again, the Sefer Ta'arech Yisrael quotes the B'tzel HaChachma, the Shalos and Shuvas B'tzel HaChachma from Rabbi Tzalel Stern. Chelek Hey Siman Tzadi Zayin Oz Beis also comes out that way lahalacha, that a person who missed the night can no longer count. I'm sorry, I missed the note there, Vlad, if you want to resend it.
So Chazal were not masakin Sefiras Haomer for him?
I don't know if he put a Chazal in a masakin or he excluded himself from Sefiras Haomer.
But he doesn't have a night. It doesn't exist.
Okay. Right, so a person that doesn't have a night can't count. That's right. So there's no mitzvah. It's like I said, he missed a day, got cut out of his existence, and you can't have two dates on 1 day and 124 up 1 day of Ma'aseh Bereishis. That's what Shlomo Zalman says. So you say chazal. When you say chazal, we're not mistaken. I mean, first of all, I mean, it's even even if Sefiras Haomer is deraisa. Sefiras Haomer is deraisa, but you have to. You have to. It's like a Rachmana litzlan. I mean, just for example, okay, it's not a good example. I won't even say it. But he's lacking he's an honest. He's honest. Yeah, he's honest. He can't do the mitzvah. He's lacking the heichi timsa to do the mitzvah. That's where Shlomo Zalman said. Now, and Shlomo Zalman, according to Halacha Shlomo and the B'tzalel Chachma. Now, by the way, in the Madonei Shlomo, where he quotes Shlomo Zalman Sakar, that he could count during the day and then continue at night. He says there, he even asked Shlomo Zalman that maybe we should say this other svara that it's not shy. He just wasn't part of the day, and Shlomo Zalman rejected it according to that. But okay, so look, we don't know. We know with all these svarim, we have to be careful. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure what what the Rav said, and I mean, it is possible. Gedolim sometimes paskin differently in different occasions, even if it's the same shaila. It's possible, but on the other hand, sometimes we don't know. But we don't know with all kitzur svarim and svarim that are staying over, which is a lot of what I quoted. I quoted Asher Ish, I quoted Amos Yaakov. They're all svarim staying over, so of course you have to be careful. But in any case, we do have deis in print from the Mechaberim themselves, expressing their opinion. Okay, before I just want to go back for 1 second to the question of the Bein Hashmashos. I meant to mention also that a number of the poskim that say that you're allowed to continue as long as you count Bein Hashmashos, you're still allowed to continue. Then the following that night, that upcoming night, a few hours later, or whenever it is, or an hour later, you're allowed to count with the bracha and continue with the bracha. But that some say that's only if you never counted Bein Hashmashos going into the day, meaning there's a shaila, how early can you count? So, for example, let's go on a Tuesday going to Wednesday, Tuesday night going to, so could you count? Do you have to wait for Tzeisa Kochavim like tonight? Do you have to wait for Tzeisa Kochavim to count? Or could you have counted already Bein Hashmashos counting the Wednesday count? Right, the Tuesday night count, the Tuesday night / Wednesday count of 20. Could you do that already? Bein Hashmashos on Tuesday night. So it's better not to, but Lamais, if you did, you're Yotzei. But if you did that, you already counted Bein Hashmashos going into the day, and you consider that the following day. So now, how could you count Bein Hashmashos going out of the day and consider it the preceding day? You can't burn the candle on both ends. So some point this out. The only way that you could be makel to count on the Bein Hashmashos as the day's leaving and consider that a valid counting is if you never yet counted Bein Hashmashos going in, and you're careful from Mikandal Haba not to count Bein Hashmashos going into the day, because you've already for your sphera is only valid if Bein Hashmashos is part of the preceding day. So if it's only valid as part of the preceding day, so you can't then go ahead and make it part of the following day, or for that, by the same token, if you already made it part of the following day by counting once or more than once Bein Hashmashos for the following day, then you can't do this eighth of counting Bein Hashmashos for the preceding day. I hope that was clear. Okay, so we got the halacha Bein Hashmashos, we got the halacha of Friday night, and you're already Mekabel Shabbos. We discussed what happens if you didn't put on tefillin in Mekabel Shabbos and you didn't blow shofar in Mekabel Shabbos, and we discussed if you didn't make Havdalah after Yom Tov in Mekabel Shabbos. And we discussed the halacha of crossing the date line. And just to conclude with the words of, quoted from Mordechai Grosh, Lita quoted in one of the stories, Mordechai Grosh is a Chashav Rav and Pesach in B'nai Brak, quoted in the Mavakshei Torah saying that it's not proper. It's not proper to cross the date line during Sfira because of the sfeikus it'll create in your Kiyam Mitzvah, and the Tarech Yisrael also brings us from the B'tzalel Chachma. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Enjoyed spending the time with you, and everybody should have a wonderful evening.